Good afternoon, everyone, and I welcome you to yet another revision session for your SBR exam. Today, the first topic that we will be revising is on sustainability. Sustainability is, or rather, has become a critical topic in your SBR exam since the last at least 5 to 6 attempts. Sorry, as important as consolidation is the discussion on sustainability because इस पे बहुत सारे questions are getting tested in the paper. Ab, if you have seen the past papers, if you have spoken to people in the past, I think not many people expect this question, which is why a lot of online resources also don't contain this. A lot of faculties also don't discuss it. But I have seen around 8 to 10 marks sometimes coming from this part. So it's an easy thing, by the way. It's not a tough thing at all. It's like EVS. So there's no requirement for a lot of logical, conceptual thinking that is required. But इसपे questions बहुत आते हैं पेपर में. So I thought let's do it. ठीक है. Now, the sustainability topic by itself it's a big topic, and you can see sustainability coming up in a lot of other subjects also. But more so in SBR and AAA, the focus on sustainability is only going up. Now, sustainability basically means meeting the needs of the current generation without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their needs. So, the Sustainable Development Goals, which are no poverty, zero hunger, decent work and economic growth, reduced inequalities, responsible consumption and production, and climate action. Now, these are some of the goals that all organizations have been asked to work towards, basically removing the inequalities at workplace and giving equal opportunities to people irrespective of their gender, religion, all of these points. So as what we have been reading in the newspapers and all of that, it is mostly that specific part. The only thing you need to remember here is the 6 goals, and you don't need to learn them by heart, but you should be aware of what these goals are. Worst case scenario, you might be asked to comment on that. अभी तक sustainable development goals पे there hasn't been a single question. And what exactly is sustainability reporting? It is an organization's practice of reporting publicly on its economic, environmental, and or social impacts, and hence its contributions, positive or negative, towards the goal of sustainable development. Basically, what we are trying to say is that the impact that you have on the environment around you. Maybe you are causing pollution, and say, for example, there are a lot of industries here in Delhi, or there are farms close by, and they burn the fields, and that causes a lot of pollution. So, if you are an agricultural business, you would want to report on that, and you would want to, maybe there is a capital expenditure that you have incurred in order to reduce the impact of that pollution and contribute to a sustainable environment. So those are additional disclosures that become a part of the sustainability report. Two aspects of sustainability reporting: discussion on how a company affects the society and the environment in which it operates, and a discussion on how societal and environmental factors affect the company's enterprise value. Basically, value the impact that you have on the world around you and the impact that the world around you has on you. These are interlinked. If you cause a lot of pollution, naturally the air quality index becomes poor. That might lead to employees falling sick and the overall productivity at the workplace getting affected. Okay, now ESG, if you have been following, the developments in our field also, your SBR paper in the future is going to be called Corporate and Sustainability Reporting. So, ispe there are advancements happening in the world around you. If you look at a lot of Indian companies like SBI, public sector banks, or IRCTC, all of these companies are presenting their ESG reports. मतलब कितना paper wastage they have been able to control, कितना water wastage they have been able to control. You basically are reporting on 3 factors: environmental, that is आप देखो पूरा pollution, waste management, efficiency, water scarcity, and then you have social factors, community relations, how you are doing employee engagement, how are you honoring the diversity in how basically are you trying to provide equal opportunities to people at work, how are you avoiding discrimination. So all of these aspects are being tested here. Now I can just show you a simple report. ये हमने batch में भी देखा था. This is the global environment social impact report of Starbucks. if you can see here, what they are talking about is innovative inclusive healthcare, what they are giving to their partners and their families, then college tuition coverage, then training of the employees families, unka education, then how are they empowering farmers. So all of that basically is a part of the ESG report. यहाँ पे देखो, they have written Pride Alliance. So basically what they are doing is they are providing equal opportunities and right to a dignified employment for people from the LGBTQ community. So all of these things basically form a part of your sustainability reporting. Okay, this is sustainability and ESG together. And then you have, of course, the corporate governance aspects where you talk about audit committee, board structure, compensation, basically. जो आपने SBL में भी corporate governance में देखा था, all of those things are here. ESG reporting points to specific environmental, social, and governance criteria and is focused on helping stakeholders to assess company performance and risk. Basically, it's with respect to three aspects. What three aspects are we talking about? We are talking about environmental impact, social impact, and what is the corporate governance framework of the entity. Sustainability reporting relates to wider aspects of ethical and responsible business practices, basically building better relations with all the stakeholders, creating value for the environment that you operate in, and how that has helped you perform better over time. So all of those points are covered here. In financial reporting, I'm sure in management accounting, yeah, performance management, or if you do APM in the future, there is a specific discussion of environmental accounting. Environmental accounting is, of course, so here what you are specifically categorizing is you are categorizing costs as internal failure costs and external failure costs. You are accounting for penalties separately. So you should know that when you are, say, for example, producing leather, or if you are producing coffee, so naturally there are certain wastes that are generated when the production happens. What cost are you spending on the treatment of these wastes before they are released into the environment? Or if you release something into the environment and it causes damage to the world around you, and then you have to maybe, pay certain compensation, or you have to probably do some sort of a compensatory tree plantation or some activities like these for the environment around you. Those are external failure costs. The treatment of these effluents before they are released into the rivers, that is an internal failure cost. And environmental management accounting will include all of these costs like fines and penalties ho gaya, cleanup cost ho gaya, pollution control equipment ho gaya, all of that is included. And ultimately organizations which are more compliant, organizations which are more compliant from an environmental standpoint, who are not damaging the environment as much, who are using sustainable business practices. In today's day and age, with Gen Z being the major consumer base, I think the decision is tilting in favor of companies which are compliant from this perspective. Okay, now corporate social responsibility is a business model in which companies attempt to operate in ways that enhance rather than degrade society. One good example of this is what the Infosys Foundation does. So I think we had discussed this in class, how Infosys Foundation has set up educational facilities for children of commercial sex workers, how they are educating them on health and sexually transmitted diseases, and trying to build some sort of a cushion for people from that background and providing them with education, a dignified life. So all of that is CSR. Things like tree plantation and all will also come here. Now, there is something known as the Global Reporting Initiative, which is a not for profit organization that promotes sustainability. Its mission is to develop and disseminate globally applicable sustainability reporting guidelines for voluntary use by organizations, reporting on the economic, social, and environmental dimensions of their activities, products, and services. The way you have accounting standards, the way you have US GAAP, ultimately, if organizations want to report on sustainability, then they will need a set of rules and regulations for doing that. And the Global Reporting Initiative is one of those organizations who is trying to develop globally acceptable sustainability reporting guidelines. So, if organizations want to report on sustainability, they will fall back on these points. Now, this is still something which is under process. It's not completely evolved, and it's it's evolving and it has not been made mandatory yet, which is why the word voluntary has been used. The first paragraph, super important. Other paragraphs, just to go through that. They are coming up basically with multiple standards on sustainability reporting. But abhi, all of this is in the exposure draft stage. It has not really, been put out there. And the idea is to make companies more accountable for the impacts they are causing, making the right use of technology in order to leverage where the organization is moving, making the right use of technological development for data tracking and for promoting sustainable business practices, managing environment related risks. All of this is the ultimate objective of the GRI, that is the Global Reporting Initiative. Along with that, there is something which is known as the Task Force on Climate Related Finance Disclosures. Now, climate change is real and we have seen it more than ever in the last 24 months, I would say. Gullet time पे rainfall or too much heat or excessive cold, or the cycle of seasons is also changing. Now, what impact does that have on the businesses? Think about it. A business like ITC hotels or ITC, which makes, certain products using wheat, like they make biscuits using wheat. Now, if the crop of wheat gets destroyed, what impact will that have on the prices of wheat, which is an input for ITC? How that will impact the overall value chain, what impact it will have on the costing. And in these days and age, this will be tied up with the political risk, because tariffs and all are getting imposed. So these are the points that you should keep in mind. Climate change creates significant risks for companies, both physical risks such as those arising from extreme weather and risks of or costs of transitioning to a net zero carbon economy. I think the Prime Minister of India also has the target of net zero carbon by 2030 or some year like that. Basically, making sure that the total CO2 emissions are matched by other practices which are trying to reduce the pollution. In particular, when investors are looking at a company which wants to become net zero carbon, or which wants to make sure that its production and output and sustainability are not affected by climate related disclosures, people would want to know opportunities for new or enhanced revenue streams. Today, for example, that beach mein na, there was this news that a swarm of locusts had attacked couple of farms and agricultural businesses, so their crop got destroyed. Now, investors who have put money in these kind of businesses, they would want to know कि यार, if this particular revenue stream gets affected because of the climate change, do you have some other opportunities lined up? They would want to know that. The impact of climate change on demand for goods and services, if it is unusually cold, or if there is a constant weather change, or like this really sick karne wala atmosphere, the sale of ice cream and cold drinks might fall down. So organizations would want to know ki which product is impacted and how they can use that situation. The ability of companies to respond to climate change issues, including cost implications, requirements for future capital in relation to climate change. See, climate change might cause a lot of rainfall, for example, and that might have a corrosive effect on the machinery that you have installed. Now, if the machinery gets corroded, it will get impaired because its productive efficiency will go down. If its productive efficiency goes down, then what happens as a direct consequence? The output gets affected and you have to bring in a new machinery. So all of these points will have to be considered. The effect of climate change on the usefulness of assets, what we discussed just now. The TCFD has developed recommendations for corporate disclosures in respect of climate risk. And what are these disclosures? They are in the area of governance, strategy, risk management, and metrics and target. Organizations' governance around climate related risks and opportunities. What is the business entity doing in order to mitigate the risk caused by climate change? What is the actual step by step approach to tackling the climate change? That comes in strategy and its impact on financial planning. Then risk management. Like, if you have a foreign exchange exposure, you take a foreign exchange forward contract or a future contract. How do you plan to tackle these risks? And then, of course, measurable metrics and targets. The TCFD guidance also includes specific guidance for sectors most affected by climate change. The TCFD disclosures are intended to complement rather than replace other bodies' guidance, and many of these bodies have issued additional guidance on how TCFD requirements can be incorporated into their existing framework. Basically, Again, this is all in the recommendatory stage. Nothing has been made mandatory yet, but very soon, the way I see things evolving, see, ACCA is a very intelligent body. If they have made this change to their curriculum, they want to stay ahead of the times. Before the global uh, shift happens, they want to make the ACCA affiliates ready to tackle those changes, which is why the paper is also changing in the next 2 years, right? So this is where the TCFD comes in. This is a list of climate related disclosures, financial instruments, impairment of assets, provisions, contingent liabilities, उसमें भी हो सकता है. And you need to keep in mind that whenever a question comes on climate change, see that climate change will definitely affect some aspect of your business. For example, climate change triggers, say, for example, because of the climate change, there is a cloud burst that happens. And because of that cloud burst, your production facility gets damaged. So there is impairment of assets. You might have to pay compensation for lives lost or lives that were hurt in the cloud burst. So you will have to create a provision for that. So ऐसे अलग अलग एरियाज में the impact of climate change can be felt. Like you have the accounting standards board, you also have the sustainability accounting standards board. And I don't know what they had in their mind. They have published, look at how difficult this is, 77 non-mandatory standards, but no one has the time and it is not there in our syllabus. We have only two sustainability reporting standards, which we'll discuss. Okay, now what are these two sustainability related standards? There is IFRS S1. IFRS S1, this is the summary of the entire standard. The scope is that this sustainability related disclosure standards may be applied irrespective of whether the related financial statements are IFRS compliant or not. Okay. Sustainability related risks and opportunities that could not reasonably be expected to affect an entity's prospects are outside the scope of this standard. Also, the period covered by the report should be the same as period covered by the financial statements. इस पे क्वेश्चन एग्जाम किट में है, which is why I have specifically mentioned this point. ठीक है. The information to be disclosed is all material information. The objective is to talk about sustainability related risks and opportunities that is useful to the primary users of financial statements in making decisions. There are four core contents of the report, which are those governance. The governance body responsible for oversight. When I talk about governance body, what am I looking at? I'm looking at someone like, on the level of those charged with governance who are basically taking care of these compliances, and the role of the management in setting up processes and controls. You have to disclose that. Then strategy, the risks and opportunities that could reasonably be affected, that could reasonably be expected to affect the entity's prospects. Then the effect on the strategy and business decision making, the value chain, the financial position, financial performance, and cash flows. The resilience of the strategy and the business model to the sustainability related risk. What do you mean by resilience of the strategy and business model? Resilience is basically an ability to bounce back. Okay, so even if there are climate changes or other sustainability related impacts, what plan does the organization have in place to recover from that impact? Okay, risk management talks about identification, assessment, prioritization, and monitoring of sustainability related risks and sustainability related opportunities. Risks matlab, can it cause a more than more than a regular impairment of assets, or can it damage the assets in a worse way than what you had expected? Can events like floods happen, and what kind of response do you have for them? And or sustainability related opportunities. This could include stuff like carbon trading and all of that. So you will have to mention these points. And then, of course, the measurable metrics and target. For example, the target could be to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions by a particular limit, and that will have to be included here. Okay. And then the general guidelines are given that location of disclosure as a part of general purpose financial report, timing of reporting same time as the related financial statements and covering the same reporting period. It should come out at the same time as the financial statements are coming out, and a statement of compliance stating that an explicit and unreserved statement, which means you have complied with all the requirements of the sustainability related standard S1. Along with IFRS S1, we also have IFRS S2. IFRS S2 is applicable when entities are making climate related disclosures. Okay. The purpose of these disclosures is to provide information about climate related risk and opportunities that the primary users of the report would find useful. So same report mein ye bhi jayega. You will talk about physical risk, results from weather related events such as flood, droughts, cloud burst, all of these events. They also result from longer term climatic changes. For example, rising temperatures may lead to rising sea levels, leading to a loss of biodiversity, and how that impacts your business. Because of this climate change, for example, in Mumbai, they eat a type of fish called Bombay duck. Now, assume that kuch climate change hua and the produce of Bombay duck falls because the temperatures are not conducive for the growth of that fish. So that could have an impact on those businesses which are into processing of fish and fish related products. So that is the physical risk. And transition risks are those which result from movement towards a lower carbon economy. Entities are required to produce disclosures about its governance so that the users of its financial reports can understand how climate related risks and opportunities are identified, monitored and managed. ठीक है, एक बार रीड द फिजिकल रिस्क्स एंड ट्रांजिशन रिस्क्स वंस. जो मैंने डिस्कस किया है वही है, जस्ट रीड इट वंस. दिस इज फ्रॉम द टेक्निकल आर्टिकल. ठीक है. Have a look at the opportunities. So you will have to achieve our goals. We are pursuing more efficient operations through investment in new technology and how that can help to reduce the energy usage. So, and of course, that will have a positive impact on the cost saving also. Then talk about metrics, greenhouse gas emissions, scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. You don't need to, of course, get these numbers. If they want you to critically appraise a report, they will mention that. Okay. Now, this disclosure is important because it helps the users of the sustainability related information assess the entity's exposure to climate related risks and opportunities. Entities with higher GHG emissions are potentially more exposed to climate related transition risk because they will be more heavily impacted by legal, technological, market, and reputational changes. There was a news item that I think we have been reading recently where there is some discussion happening about banning the use of cars in Delhi which were made before a certain specific date. Now, why is this activity being undertaken? Because they believe that older vehicles will cause more pollution and that will have a negative impact on that will have a devastating impact on the environment. So primarily we are trying to talk about that part. So the higher the greenhouse gas emission, naturally, the worse it will be for a business. Imagine that all vehicles made before 2016 have been banned, okay? And now the a business only owns trucks made before 2016. So naturally, its non-current assets will need an immediate replacement, and which is why that disclosure or giving that information becomes critical for businesses. Similar thing goes for greenhouse gases of different level emissions. तो वो disclosure see the users of financial statements need to know कि out of the 10 trucks listed in the balance sheet, around 6 trucks are older trucks which are going to be banned. So although the asset side looks heavier, it doesn't have the same income generating potential as earlier. So naturally, all of these points are they have to be discussed. Okay. And they have to be disclosed in the financial statements and mapped in the sustainability related information in IFRS S2. Now, like your International Accounting Standard Board, which has the SASB, there is the European Sustainability Standards Board called ESSB. By 2028, all of the following have to comply with CSRD, which is EU-based large undertakings listed or not, and third country undertakings, including non-EU parents of EU subsidiaries. So even if a subsidiary is in the European Union, but the holding company is not in the European Union, then again that will that company will also have to apply the sustainability standards. Okay, affected stakeholders in ESRS are individuals or groups whose interests are conflicted or could be affected positively or negatively by the undertaking's activities and its direct and indirect business relationships across the value chain. So, if I am a supplier or if I am the transporter which is helping the company ship its products from one location to another, and the entity is targeting a net zero carbon approach, then naturally the suppliers, the transporters, all of them will get affected. They might also have to change some of their ways of working. And users of sustainability elements, primary users of general purpose financial reporting, as well as other users, including the undertaking's business partners, trade unions, and uh, social partners, civil society, and non governmental organizations, governments, analysts, and academics. Basically, we are talking about who else reads the sustainability report and how could they be affected by it. Now, there are multiple sustainability standards under the European guidelines, but this is not critical. There are two terms in ESRS that are important. इसका ये जो पार्ट में टिक मार रहा हूं ना, ये पार्ट इंपॉर्टेंट है, ठीक है? ये मटीरियलिटी इंपॉर्टेंट है, and more than sector specific disclosures, the summary of differences, this part is important. Now we are used to one type of materiality, which is the financial materiality. आपने अगर audit पढ़ा होगा तो I'm sure you have studied about materiality by amount and materiality by nature. यहाँ पे in European sustainability reporting standards there is the concept of double materiality, which means financial materiality and impact materiality. Impact materiality means what impact does what impact does the process carried out by your organization or the जो pollution आप करते हो, yeah, the pollution that is caused by your business operations, how does it impact the world around you? That is the impact materiality. So from a cost angle it might not be much, as in from a financial cost angle it might not be much, but it could have like a far deeper impact on the environment, which is why we look at financial materiality also and we look at impact materiality also. ठीक है? अब under ESRS 1, sustainability information must be included in a clearly identified single section of the management report and referred to as sustainability statements. Sustainability statements need to be presented in a specific order. To avoid duplication of information between sustainability statements and other reports that contain sustainability information, cross-referencing is permitted. And they have given you a list of differences कि ये किसको किसको apply होता है. These are self-explanatory, but this point is very important that in IFRS you have financial materiality, in ESRS you have double materiality, and the materiality assessment disclosure needs on materiality assessment. Here you have to mandatory disclosure requirements which depend upon materiality, but finance materiality and impact materiality both. ठीक है? I would say this IFRS S1, IFRS S2, ESSB, all of these tabs are important and you should learn that and go. ठीक है? अब importance of effective sustainability reporting. Again, ये सारे EVS based points है. When you go through these ones, like for example, helps in building the reputation, Organizations today which are more responsible from an environmental perspective, more and more private equity funds, more and more lenders would want to give money to such a company. So, being compliant with sustainability related activities helps you to access a wider market for raising capital. It helps you to create more opportunities and more value, not just for yourself, but for the society that you live in. And it's basically right now, if you start applying these standards, things will become easier for you when it becomes mandatory to apply. ठीक है? Okay. एक बार just go through this. It's there on your screen. I'll be back in a moment and we'll continue. Just go through this properly. Okay. Okay. Now, let me quickly take you through some questions that have been asked in the past from this topic. Again, these are not like tough questions or anything. कुछ इसमें tough नहीं है, but you will be able to answer these questions only when you have studied the topic. If you haven't studied, if you haven't gone through it, तो आपको आंसर लिखना थोड़ा सा मुश्किल हो जाएगा naturally. Two questions from the kit, guys, that we have already done in class. I will breeze through those. Then आपके मतलब जैसे एग्जाम किट में एक एथिक्स में भी मुझे सस्टेनेबिलिटी का क्वेश्चन मिला है, तो ऑफ कोर्स आई विल बी टेकिंग दैट अप. एक ये किमीमिला कंपनी वाला तो ऑलरेडी था, सो लेट्स टेक यू थ्रू दोज एंड देखते हैं फिर. आई मोर देन 4-5 क्वेश्चंस नहीं है, बिकॉज एज आई टोल्ड यू इट्स बिन अ रिलेटिवली न्यूअर इंक्लूजन इन द एसबीआर सिलेबस. ठीक है, लेट्स लुक एट द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन. पूरा क्वेश्चन नहीं करेंगे, सिर्फ सस्टेनेबिलिटी वाला पार्ट करेंगे. दिस इज दैट किमीमिला कंपनी. आई थिंक इसका फाइनेंशियल असेट्स हमने डिस्कस किया था, शेयर बेस्ड पेमेंट्स हमने डिस्कस किया था व्हेन वी वर डूइंग IFRS 2. नाउ लेट्स डिस्कस द सस्टेनेबिलिटी बिट. Kimimila company has produced a sustainability report. The report states that it has been produced in accordance with IFRS sustainability disclosure standards. Due to a systems issue, Kimimila company was unable to capture important data during December 2007. As such, its sustainability report covers the 11 months to 30th November 2007. In its climate related disclosures, K has identified several climate related opportunities. It has also identified climate related physical risk, but no other type of risk. अभी हमने पढ़ा, one thing that I can see is a problem here is the sustainability report should cover the same period that is covered by the financial statements. That is not happening. Now, climate related disclosure of इसमें आपको लिखना है physical risk and transition risk. They have only written about physical risk. For the risks and opportunities identified, Kimimila company has disclosed the potential impact on its financial position and performance over the next 12 months. Kimimila company has disclosed its scope 1 GHG emissions. It has not disclosed scope 2, scope 3 GHG emissions on the basis that these figures are difficult to measure. Kimimila company believes that this level of measurement uncertainty would not be useful to the primary users of financial statements. Several years ago, Kimimila company introduced a share-based payment scheme for its directors. The options would vest on 31st of December 2007 if K company cut its scope 1 GHG emissions by 10% per year on average. This target was not met and the scheme did not vest. No mention is made of this in the share-based payments in the climate-related disclosures. The climate-related disclosure details Kimimila company's target of becoming net zero within the next decade. Around half of its anticipated carbon reduction is estimated to arise from carbon credits. There is no reference to use of carbon credits in the disclosure. Briefly discuss how the materiality approach is different in the European sustainability reporting standards compared to IFRS sustainability standards. Anyone who has gone through that particular ESRS wala tab will be able to answer this question, that in the IFRS standards you have only the financial materiality, but in European standards you have double materiality, which is finance materiality and impact materiality. Using Exhibit 1 only, discuss how Kimimila company's sustainability report does not comply with the IFRS sustainability disclosure standards. 2-3 पॉइंट्स तो हमने ऐसे ही बता दिए, right? Now that's the same thing that they have discussed here, that the timing of reporting, it should cover the same 12-month period as the financial statements. You have only spoken about physical risks, you have not spoken about transition risks. Then you should explain what are transition risks and why the disclosure relating to these is important. For the risks and opportunities identified, Kimimila company has disclosed information about the impact on future financial performance and position. It should also disclose the information about the impact on cash flows. Moreover, company has only disclosed information about the impact over the next 12 months. IFRS S2 states that companies should disclose the impact over short, medium, and long term. And then they have also spoken about greenhouse gases. कंपनी ने क्या किया है यहाँ पे, कंपनी हैज ओनली मेड अ डिस्क्लोजर अबाउट स्कोप 1 ग्रीन हाउस गैस एमिशंस. If you observe IFRS S2, there is scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. Indirect GHG gas emissions from the generation of purchased or acquired electricity, indirect GHG emissions that occur in the value chain of the entity. Now, if you read this, you do realize that although it is difficult to measure GHG emissions because different methodologies are there, but that particular disclosure is required. And if you don't do that disclosure, then you are not giving full detailed disclosure to the users of financial statements. तो इसके बारे में बात करना is critical, which they haven't done, and that means again the report is not as expected. According to IFRS S2, companies should disclose climate related targets which it has set to monitor its progress. The share based payment was based on a clear target to reduce GHG emissions by an average of 10%. As such, Kimimila company should have disclosed the metric used, the objective of the target, and the period over which the target is applied. It should also disclose the fact that it did not satisfy this climate related target. यहाँ पे जो share based payment वाला point था ना कि if you think about it, this is a performance based condition, and that performance based condition was not satisfied, which is why which is why the options did not vest. So that is a critical disclosure. Critical A from a share based payment perspective, and B from the fact that you were expected to achieve certain reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, which you did not achieve. तो वो भी आपको लिखना पड़ेगा. Similarly, you will have to write about carbon credits also. Anything that they haven't done which they were supposed to do, that you should include here, and that would be the critical appraisal of the sustainability report prepared by Kimimila company. ठीक है, ये एक टाइप का क्वेश्चन हो गया, एंड दिस इज अ फेयरली रीसेंट क्वेश्चन, सितंबर दिसंबर 24 वाले साइकिल में था. इफ यू लुक एट हैंड फूड कंपनी, दिस इज अ सितंबर दिसंबर 20 क्वेश्चन. यहाँ पे लुक एट द सस्टेनेबिलिटी पार्ट. This is so about SMEs. Outline the information requested by directors regarding sustainability reporting. ठीक है, what is the information requested by the directors? Hand food company is aware of the increasing importance of sustainability reporting for SMEs and has several key investors who are keen to learn about how hand food company manages sustainability related risks and opportunities. The directors of hand food company would like more information on IFRS sustainability standards to help them decide whether hand food companies should be applying these standards. The directors want to understand the objective and scope of the standard. By the way, this is a very direct question. IFRS S1 में scope भी है, objective भी है, दोनों दिया है. If you have gone through this sheet and learnt it, you will be able to construct this answer. Direct answer है. And in what is the other information requested by them? They would like to know more about the sustainability standards. आपको applicability के बारे में बात करना पड़ेगा और आपको disclosures के बारे में बात करना पड़ेगा. ठीक है. So the answer to question 2, that is hand food company, can be found in IFRS S1 and IFRS S2. I would say अभी आप instead of wasting time on something like share based payments जो हमने एक बार रिवाइज कर लिया है, I would say this particular sheet ना you learn it. Okay, I usually don't give this मतलब suggestion in subjects like SBR की learn करके जाओ, because I believe SBR is a logical subject because there is financial reporting involved. But questions of this type मैं आपको बोलूंगा ये question मतलब ये sheet learn करके जाओ, because this is a new syllabus area. ठीक है, न्यू सिलेबस एरिया है तो नेचुरली यार दे हैव अ बिग प्लेइंग फील्ड. अगर आप पूरा का पूरा शीट रिवाइज करके जाओगे तो व्हाट इज देयर इन द स्टडी हब पॉइंट 1 एंड व्हाट इज देयर इन द आपका दिस थिंग टेक्निकल आर्टिकल, वो दोनों आपका कवर हो जाएगा. प्लस यू वुड हैव ऑल्सो अंडरस्टूड द पास्ट एग्जामिनेशन क्वेश्चंस. अब जैसे एक और क्वेश्चन मैं दिखाता हूं आपको. दिस इज अ क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम एथिक्स. दिस क्वेश्चन ऑल्सो डील्स विद सस्टेनेबिलिटी. कुछ डिफिकल्ट नहीं है, बट इफ यू हैवंट रेड ना IFRS S2 तो आपको नहीं पता ग्रीन हाउस गैस एमिशंस का क्या है, तो अननेसेसरीली यू विल एंड अप लूजिंग मार्क्स देयर. इफ यू हैव लर्नड दिस, अगर आपने ये याद कर लिया कोर कंटेंट में से, स्ट्रैटेजी है, रिस्क मैनेजमेंट है, मेट्रिक्स एंड टारगेट है, ऑब्जेक्टिव है, कितना टाइम लगता है यार. कंसोलिडेशन पे और आधा घंटा स्पेंड करोगे आपको 2 मार्क्स ज्यादा मिलेंगे. इस पे आप टोटल 1 घंटा स्पेंड करोगे, यू आर अश्योरिंग योर सेल्फ 8 to 10 मार्क्स इन द पेपर, राइट. सो मेक श्योर दैट यू आर डिवोटिंग टाइम टू दैट. अब ये एक क्वेश्चन है This is an ethics question which was asked fairly recently. Using Exhibit 2, एक minute, this is ये मैंने सस्टेनेबिलिटी पार्ट कॉपी नहीं किया. This is a question which combines ethics and sustainability. Uh, what is the question? Mr. Lennox is an ACCA member. Mr. Ruiz, the finance director and an ACCA member, is his immediate manager. Mr. Ruiz has ordered Mr. Lennox to produce Apaneva Group sustainability report in accordance with IFRS sustainability disclosure standards. Mr. Lennox has never produced a sustainability report before and is unaware of these new standards. After correcting the errors outlined in Exhibit 1, he sent the CFS to Miss Ruiz for review. As part of her review, she made several changes. Mr. Lennox believes that Mr. Ruiz has understated the foreign exchange loss adjustment in arriving at the cash flows. She has also understated dividend. वो सब भी उसने किया है. Mr. Lennox is aware that Miss Ruiz is a major shareholder in Apaniva, and because of the current liquidity crisis, he has concluded that she wants to conceal from third parties the extent of her dividend. आपको पूछा है ethical issues arising out of this. Please understand कि यहाँ पे the question looks like as if it is a question on sustainability. But apart from that, this is basically a question on ethics where the person who is in charge or the person who is, expected to deal with these issues, he has no idea of how to deal with that. मतलब, on one hand, you are saying that this person should be commenting on the sustainability aspect. He should prepare his financial statements and, or talk about sustainability related disclosures. But the thing is, he doesn't know what to do with it. Because he doesn't know what to do with it, I believe this is a problem of professional competence. Correct. ये प्रोफेशनल कॉम्पिटेंस वाला प्रॉब्लम है एंड यू शुड स्पीक अबाउट इट. सो आपका जो एथिकल इशू हाईलाइट होगा, आपका एथिकल इशू विल बी रिलेटेड टू the sustainability reporting standards. ठीक है. Now, there is one more question which is basically ZTech company. अब ZTech company के question में again there is one more reference to sustainability there as well. एक ई कोमा करके क्वेश्चन है. ई कोमा ऑल्सो हैज अ रेफरेंस टू सस्टेनेबिलिटी. सो लेट मी क्विकली ओपन एंड एक्सट्रैक्ट दोज क्वेश्चंस फॉर यू. एक बार आपको दिखा देता हूं सो दैट यू नो व्हाट काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चंस टू एक्सपेक्ट. ठीक है. दिस इज एन एक्सट्रैक्ट फ्रॉम ई कोमा एंड आई विल ओनली टॉक अबाउट द सस्टेनेबिलिटी पार्ट बिकॉज बाकी सब आपको आता है. सो आई डोंट वांट टू वेस्ट टाइम ऑन दैट. गिव मी वन क्वेश्चन. ठीक है. गिव मी वन मोमेंट. सेकंड. Again, a past exam question from the exam kit. ये पर्टिकुलर शीट अच्छे से कर लेना. हाँ, बिकॉज सस्टेनेबिलिटी के लिए हर कोई रोते रहता है कि किया नहीं है, पता नहीं है, जो भी है. सो आई एम गिविंग इट टू यू इन वन प्लेस. मेक श्योर दैट यू डू इट प्रॉपरली. ठीक है. ये देखो एक बार. March 20, there is a global trend towards more extensive and more meaningful narrative reporting. Improvements in the quality and scope of this reporting are driven by regulatory demands as well as market demands for transparency. Many investors now adhere to sustainable investing in order to an approach to investing where environmental, social, or governance factors, in combination with financial considerations, guide the selection and management of investments. Discuss why the disclosure of sustainable information has become an important and influential consideration for investors. ठीक है. एक बार बैकग्राउंड देखो तो. रीड द बैकग्राउंड. इट्स ऑन योर स्क्रीन. Well, till that time, I will just copy the other question on sustainability. ठीक है। नाउ टेल मी, ये part A, this background has got nothing to do with it just because the words environmental, social, and governance issues are mentioned. Here, this question is an 8 mark direct question on sustainability. आपको क्या पूछा है? Why the disclosure of sustainability information has become an important and influential consideration for investors? Don't you think question of on e comma basically is related to this particular tab? Importance of effective sustainability reporting for investors. Learn these points, you will get the marks. Importance for the reporting entity, learn these points and you will get the marks. आपको क्या पूछा है in this question? They have asked why has it become an important consideration for investors. So आपको क्या करना है? आपको ये points याद करना है, ऐसे का ऐसा लिखना है. You will get 8 marks. Imagine doing this one sheet is giving you so many free का marks in the paper. So do not get misled. सिर्फ ये शीट का एक एक टैब जो है ना वो अच्छे से प्रिपेयर करके जाओ. सी वी डोंट इवन नीड टू डिस्कस क्वेश्चन फोर बिकॉज द आंसर इज सो सो स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड. ठीक है. एक और क्वेश्चन दिखाते हैं आपको कि हाउ कैन सस्टेनेबिलिटी बी टेस्टेड. गाइस सी देयर इज नो, दे डोंट इवन हैव अ स्कोप टू ट्विस्ट द डेटा. हाँ, कुछ घुमाने का स्कोप भी नहीं है उनके पास. जो है जैसा है वो वैसा ही उनको करना पड़ेगा. एंड देयर इज नो पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ आस्किंग यू एनीथिंग एल्स. ये प्लीज पेपर में याद करके जाओ और आपको इस टॉपिक पे 6 to 8 मार्क्स आप गारंटीड समझ लो. जेडटेक में भी है सिमिलर सा कुछ छोटा सा रिक्वायरमेंट है वहां पे. द डायरेक्टर्स हैव ऑफ जेडटेक have heard through industry forums and think tanks that sustainability reporting is becoming a primary focus for executives within ZTech industry. ZTech's management are keen to promote the ways that ZTech positions sustainability at the core of its operations. Discuss the factors that ZTech must consider to ensure they operate in a sustainable fashion and how sustainability reporting could be important to ZTech's management and shareholders, stakeholders. How is it important to management and stakeholders? Pura ka pura information is again from this tab. The first part of the question, specific factors that ZTech must consider to ensure they operate in a sustainable fashion. अब ये जो question है ना, this question is about a technology company. ठीक है. So naturally the answer will have to be framed in accordance with the software industry in mind. So आपको उतना पार्ट पढ़ के you will have to talk about factors affecting the sustainability reporting. इसके लिए ना one specific point that you can mention is sustainability डेवलपमेंट गोल्स. ठीक है. ये जो सस्टेनेबिलिटी डेवलपमेंट गोल्स दिया है, सेवन द गोल्स एंड सर्टेन इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर्स, दोज विल हैव टू बी कंसिडर्ड. ठीक है. एंड नेचर ऑफ द बिजनेस एंड ऑल्सो बेसिकली उसके बेसिस पे यू विल हैव टू फ्रेम द आंसर. द आंसर एट द बैक इज प्रिटी डिसेंट, मतलब छोटा सा है. दिस पार्ट तो आप डायरेक्टली इंपॉर्टेंस यहाँ से उठा सकते हो एंड जस्ट रिमेंबर इट एंड रिप्रोड्यूस इट. एंड आपको जो भी आपके एलोकेटेड मार्क्स है वो आपको मिल जाएंगे. ठीक है. अब दिस इज प्राइमरीली हाउ सस्टेनेबिलिटी इज टेस्टेड इन द एसबीआर एग्जाम. Not a difficult topic, but we are so caught up and so engrossed in always talking only about financial instruments and other accounting standards that ये इतने easy marks है आपके सामने लेकिन आप इसको ignore कर दोगे. I don't want anyone to lose these marks, which is why I thought 1 घंटा बिताते हैं आपके साथ फिर से, आपको पूरा जर्नी करवाते हैं ऑफ सस्टेनेबिलिटी. एंड इसमें कुछ भी नहीं करना है. हाँ, ये एक शीट है, उस इस शीट में भी ना आधे टैब्स तो क्वेश्चन आंसर के हैं एंड ये भी मतलब लर्न नहीं करना है वो आपको. यू जस्ट हैव टू गो थ्रू दिस, द सस्टेनेबिलिटी रिपोर्टिंग गोल्स एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. वो लगे तो एक बार याद कर लो. IFRS S1 S2 डिस्क्लोजर्स याद कर लो. इफ यू हैव लर्न सो मेनी कॉम्प्लेक्स कॉन्सेप्ट्स एल्सवेयर देन उसके सामने तो ये कुछ भी नहीं है ना. दिस इज लिटरली नथिंग. एंड एक और क्वेश्चन है मार्गी कंपनी करके. वो मार्गी कंपनी में क्या है, वही पूछा है. what the ISSB standards consist of, what is required to comply with them, highlight any misconceptions, then advantages and disadvantages, differences between ISSB standards and ESRS. 7 + 2 9 marks, guys, फ्री के 9 marks है और कुछ नहीं करना है, कॉपी पेस्ट करना है. सो जस्ट इंश्योर दैट यू प्रिपेयर फॉर दिस, एंड ये ऐसे का ऐसा पेपर में लेके चले जाओ, याद करो एंड खत्म करो. ठीक है. इसके ऊपर maybe spend 1 hour today and half an hour before the पेपर के एक दिन पहले ये टॉपिक देख लेना. इससे ज्यादा इसका लेवल नहीं है, बट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. 8 to 9 marks आर सुपर क्रिटिकल इन द पेपर. एंड आई हैड स्टूडेंट्स हु हैव सेड दिस इन द पास्ट कि we cleared because of sustainability, because we for once we listened to what you had to say, we went and we wrote that answer, तो वो हमें आ गया that particular part. ठीक है. I'll share this on the group like I have shared the other topics also. ये भी मैं ग्रुप पे भेज दूंगा. अब I have to discuss consolidation with you. Acha, that I will be taking up in the next class. I am done with the technical discussion for today. So don't leave. I'm just stopping the recording. I will discuss the next steps with you. So thank you so much for that.